Today we are here in Sewanee, Tennessee, and it is day 2 of our road trip from Atlanta to Dallas in the Porsche. Today we are driving all the way to Nashville, Tennessee, where we're gonna stay the night. Yesterday my dad drove, today I'm driving, so this is gonna be a fun trip. Let's go ahead and get on the road to Nashville. First thing you gotta do, put it in accessory mode, open up the exhaust, put the top down. You gotta do everything to be able to hear the exhaust when it first starts up, because that's one of the coolest things about this car is that flat 6 and that active exhaust. And here we go. Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about this car is the exhaust. 100%. That and the interior and the color and literally everything else about this car is just so cool. I mean, come on, look at this awesome steering wheel. Oh, we got the carbon fiber right here. We have the carbon fiber here. It's a manual transmission. This thing is just perfect. This thing is so cool. The Sewanee Inn is where we stayed. It's a really cool hotel. And we actually stayed on a golf course, and neither of us are avid golfers, but we played around to golf and it was pretty fun. So if you're ever driving through Tennessee and you find yourself in Sewanee, definitely check out the Sewanee Inn, the golf course, all of it. Pretty cool place. We're kind of making a stop that was not planned. We're in Bowling Green, Kentucky right now. My friend who is a pilot is at the airport in Bowling Green in a World War II era bomber. So we're gonna go meet up with him and maybe even get a ride. Not really sure yet, we'll see. So we were looking for where we're supposed to go, and there's a bunch of signs that say B-17 rides, and then there's a giant B-17 sitting right there. So my friend, he's a part of the commemorative Air Force, so he flies World War II era bombers and fighters and stuff like that. So we're about to meet up with him and say hi. It's crazy. It's a small world, you know. We're in Bowling Green, Kentucky. We're both from Dallas, and we just happen to run into each other, which is just, I think, hilarious. So something really cool about these airplanes that they just explained to me is, I know this is more of a car channel, but airplanes and cars share a lot in common, including turbochargers. Right here is actually a massive turbo. Here's my hand for reference. See how massive that is? So these are actually blocked off. They help maintain pressure over 8,000 feet or something like that. A lot of parts that they use in cars, they also happen to use in airplanes. And in fact, turbos are really great in airplanes because at altitude, it helps maintain pressure. Whereas in cars, we just use it to get more power out of the engine. This is technically the wastegate valve right here. And then here is the actual turbo. Look how massive that is. These engines are like 9-cylinder radial engines. That's like, I want to say they said 1,800 cubic inches of displacement, which is just, I can't believe that. Like, that's just huge. And there's 4 of those engines, all with turbos, on this airplane. This is a beast of an aircraft. Look how huge it is. You see pictures and you don't realize how just incredible a piece of an engineering this thing is. For 1942, you know, I look at stuff on my 70s Datsun and I think it's old. And this is next level. Just incredible engineering of the time.
5 model B-17 G. You can tell it's a G model because it has the chin turret up front. That was about 2/3 of all the B-17s that they made back in the war. The German fighters found that the front of the airplane was one of the most vulnerable because it only had the 2 decals on the side there that the navigator would use. And so they added the chin turret up front to help deter some of the attacks from the front by the fighters there, and it greatly increased the survivability of this airplane. 13 machine guns all the way around. You got 4 here in the front, 1 in the center up top, 2 on the sides, and then 2 in the back in the tail gunner section. We'll walk on through. The airplane was built in 1945. Like I said, it was one of the last 3 built by the Douglas Aircraft Corporation in 1945. The airplane became obsolete as the war continued on, as they made the B-29 and B-36, etc. So this airplane actually never saw active duty. There are 5 airplanes that are still flying nowadays. 3 of them tour the country, and Texas Raiders is one of them. Over 12,000 total B-17s were made as the war went on, and we're grateful to be flying this in tribute of everyone from Texas and the 8th Air Force that served in the war. Texas Raiders, like I said, the nose art was never featured on any B-17 during the actual war, but it was created to commemorate everyone from Texas who served in the war. We'll talk about the tail markings in the back as we go on, but walk on through after this guy here in the green goes through, and we'll take a tour through history.
Lots of seats available still left, Mr. Stick. and going up here to ride. 430 flight, still seats open. So one of a lifetime experience. Yeah, you'll regret it leaving here without doing it.
And the money you spend goes right back in.
The more I have to do this, the more I do that.
Yeah, so that's the ball turret. We would not fit very well in there.
No,
Someone about this high would fit much better in that.
Yeah, no, that's crazy.
Oh yeah. It actually is bigger on the inside. It's kind of in a ball, and it kind of makes
Doctor
sense.
Who technology.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, I would not want to be in there during flights for sure.
No, it's crazy.
It's phenomenal how they were able to pick an airplane out of a formation and you could tell what battle group, what air group, or battle or air group it was. That's the red, okay? The red tail battle group. The bomb group is the black triangle with the L in it, which would be the 381st Bomb Group. VP, which you can see it actually says VP on the door. The VP is the bomb squadron, which you had 4 squadrons within a group. This is for the 533rd Bombardment Squadron. And then the X you see on the tail and the X you see on the fuselage are both aircraft designators. So in the heat of battle, when you're being attacked and you see a B-17 going down and you need to identify it, can't read that number 483872. So they use the identifier, which will be a single alphabetical designator, A through Z. And they would say aircraft X leaving formation. Then they can check you off and know that you left the formation for whatever reason. If they lose you, then they can say aircraft X was lost in combat. Now, the next day, there may be a new aircraft out there, they put an X on it. So X doesn't particularly mean one individual aircraft. The designator is going to be replaced and put on other aircraft as they progress.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yes, that was a much more full story than I could give you all in one go. And then the number was our serial number. So 4 means 44, so it was ordered in 1944, delivered in 45, and the actual serial number on it was 83872. They made just over 12,000, but the numbers also correlate to the manufacturer and the location. This is where all the officers would enter the airplane. So you have 5 officers up front. You have the pilot, the co-pilot, the flight engineer, as well as the bombardier up in the very front, and the navigator at a desk behind them. We can peek in there and show you guys all that, and then we'll walk through the rest of the airplane. But when you climb up, you're gonna look to the left. You'll see the bombardier and the navigator desk right next to you, with the Norden bomb set up front that really turned the tide of the war and how accurate it was in dropping bombs over a certain target and being fairly accurate. Whoa. It's definitely a little tight inside, but you know, it's built for 20-year-olds who are 120, 130 pounds and all about 5'6".
Yeah, so me.
Yes.
Well, except for the 5'6"
Yeah,
part.
right, exactly.
Miss one requirement.
Yeah.
Port, what was that up there?
No, so up there, called the Astrodome because we're from Houston, right? Up there is where they would have the sextant to help navigate the stars,
I see.
right?
Okay.
Celestial navigation, and then there was a radio antenna up there in the front for the navigator to use. We have mostly authentic instruments here. We have a couple of modern stuff. So we have a modern navigational radio display there with the numbers around it, a modern directional gyro, and then above, kind of up center where it says AV30, that's a modern screen.
Oh, okay. I see that.
Most everything in here still works. We replaced stuff as it breaks. We replaced one of our PM tachometers this morning actually.
Oh really?
So we have a great maintenance team that really keeps stuff going and replaces and repairs stuff as we need it, but it's all volunteer run. The more people that come out and help, the more we can keep this airplane flying. Most everything would have been there. There are a couple differences, like I said. The little AV30, it's a multi-function display, so like a little mini G1000 basically. It has airspeed, altitude, etc., artificial horizon. The DG there is, as well as the ILS receiver there, is all modern.
I assume this is modern.
This is all period, you know. No, but this entire stack didn't exist back in the day because it was all done by the radio operator or the navigator in front. But this Avidyne, I forget what model number it is, but it replaced the entire navigator desk as well as the entire radio room that we'll see back there. So amazing the advances of modern technology.
Oh, you got some bombs. You gonna drop them on?
You never know. You never know if those Atlanta guys are any worse, they might have dropped a couple.
So what's this right here?
So if you look here, this little picture. So this is what it looked like during the war. It's called the Sperry upper turret. So there would be a platform here that the flight engineer would stand on. And if they were getting attacked from the top, he would be responsible for defending the top part of the airplane as well.
Wow.
But the mechanism broke after they took it out later on during the war, and it made walking through here for tours a bit more challenging. So we just took it out and put a picture there. But down here is still our actual hydraulic pump for the airplane. The only thing that's hydraulic in the B-17 are the brakes and the cowl flaps. Everything else is electric or manually actuated. You know, hydraulic fluid is great until you spring a leak and then you're gonzo, baby. So When you're getting flaked at left and right, maybe having high pressure fluid running through the airplane for critical air systems is not super great. The brakes and cowl flaps made the most sense for that because everything you could just land longer or just fly with some restricted conditions. But there's our flight engineer's panel as well back there. Most everything in this airplane is controlled up front by the pilots, but you got circuit breakers, a couple of voltage meters, as well as some reversionary switches, as well as gear status lights and the like. As your dad walks through back to the bomb bay, on the left-hand side you'll see two 500-pound bomb replicas. No, they are not live.
I was gonna say.
Then on the right-hand side you'll see our modern luggage tray that we've installed to get our stuff, because we travel on this airplane all the way through the country. So
in flight, would people like be in here?
So they could transit back and forth, but fortunately there was not a great need to go back and forth.
Yeah,
because everyone in the front kind of stayed. Yeah, but I mean, like I said, if you're 120 pounds and 5'6", this is nothing.
Imagine standing on this at 35,000 feet at 150 knots or something.
No, fortunately it's closed, so you don't get quite as much of a scare factor.
Still,
but yeah, it's certainly not something you want to fall down. And these
are huge.
I know. And these are only 500 pounds, so we could hold up to 2,000-pound bombs in this compartment. Anything large we could hold on some wing hardpoints. Then the doors here are electrically actuated. You can see the motors right there.
I see that.
But they have the bomb bay doors have a safety release on them, where if anything over about 100 pounds hits them, they auto fall and auto drop and release. So in case the motors themselves failed, you would still be able to drop your bomb load. Maybe not quite as cleanly, but it would still drop down.
It'd get out.
Oh yeah. Here's the radio room. So you would have one radio operator in here controlling all of the comm radios for the mission. So you have all different types of radio equipment. This is all period stuff. None of it works anymore, but this is what they would have had back in the day. The couple differences that you will see in the airplane are there were a lot more oxygen bottles back in the day, as well as more ammo boxes that we'll see in the back.
Yeah, because this wasn't pressurized.
Correct. No, it was all unpressurized. So anytime they were above 10,000 feet, you can see all the oxygen, all the oxygen meters here. But they were on oxygen the entire time they were flying. So it definitely used a lot of oxygen, but it had.
Was this open?
So it could be. So you have the little dome here.
Oh, I see.
We call it our sunroof or our turtle shell. And what they would do is they could add another flexible mount 50 caliber machine gun here to further defend the top side of the airplane against the fighters coming in to try and attack. But they would close it when they didn't need to because it got a little windy in here with it. Installed.
Are these the wires for the cables?
These are the control cables for the airplane, so they're all exposed, but there's also not a lot of movement going on. They want them, you're going to see them to be able to inspect them easier, etc.
Are they redundant?
Yes, there is some redundancy in it, but they run all the way to the back of the airplane. You'll see them back there as well, all the way throughout the back. These two long cables were radio antennas. So the longer the cable was, the lower frequency the signal would be and the further it would travel. And I'll show you our extra long one back there in the back. Well, to crawl through back into the waist area, right in front of you, you'll see our ball turret. Right. So it had two 50 caliber machine guns.
Oh, wow.
With I believe 500 rounds in each side it would hold. And this was for the shortest guy in the mission.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, so exactly. So when we were loading, we would take off the land with the two guns that you saw outside pointed straight down, and that leaves a pretty decently sized hatch for a person to crawl into. We'd rotate, they would crawl in kind of where you're standing right now. So it wouldn't be near as awkward as it looks right now, but certainly not comfortable by any means. The ball turret and the tail gunner were two of the most important and most quickly shot at by the fighters because they were the most damaging to the convoy of bombers. But if there was just a flak attack, they were actually the most well defended because they had armor plating and bulletproof glass that the other positions didn't have. So you have the two 50 cals here in the waist. Initially, these two guns were back to back, but it made it kind of challenging to.
So they staggered.
Exactly, so they staggered them off to the side. These are just replicas nowadays, obviously. The two ammo cases would look just like that. They have a hole in the side, and the ammo would be kind of fed all the way through in the belt that you see here. But you know, all the switches still work. Obviously, it just doesn't fire. But during flight, you get to walk around all throughout the back here and fake fire. You get your picture taken. It's a lot of fun. But the seating numbers back here are kind of similar to what you would see during the war. You had a couple seats here, and they were all harnessed in, of course. These are the the same control cables that you saw earlier to help move around the airplane. A couple of the changes I said that we made include here in the back. So the F model and earlier had these same moving windows that kind of opened up all the way. The G model transitioned to a solid window that had more of a small hole for the gun in it that sealed it better. But we like not sweating in the airplane, so we retrofitted it with these F model doors that open up and slide back and forth all the way.
Okay.
So it makes it a lot cooler in here when you get the air flowing. Yeah. It makes it a better experience for the riders that we take along. Because it was unpressurized, and you know, you're at 35,000 feet, it's negative 30 degrees outside. Got pretty cold back here, right? It's not pressurized. So these boxes were throughout the airplane, and they look like plugs, right? Well, they were. You would plug in electrically heated long johns that would keep you warm as you were flying. And it was a built-in reset with the airplane. So you had the bomber jacket as well as, you know, all the layers, but you would also have heated underwear to keep you from freezing to death.
So this is Field Parsons. We're both from Dallas. We both went to OU, and he's actually was my flight instructor at OU before he graduated, and he's actually now a pilot at
Jet Links. I fly charter airplanes for a living.
Yeah, and so he does this. He's a part of the commemorative Air Force, and he does this kind of on his off days. We just happen to be in Bowling Green, Kentucky at the same time for two different reasons, and so he was nice enough to let us come out and check out some of these awesome aircraft.
Yeah, we're all around the country. We have wings all across the country. I'm personally based in Houston right now. These two airplanes are based in a suburb just north of Houston, but we have wings all the way from New York to California at commemorativeairforce.org. So there's always something out there. We're always looking for more volunteers who are excited about aviation to come out, look around, or help us turn some wrenches and keep these airplanes flying. So it's always a joy to have people come out here and experience the magic of this living history that we have out here.
Yeah, and I'll link your stuff down below. I'll link the commemorative Air Force as well as your personal stuff down below, so people kind of seek you out.
Yeah, for sure. We're always excited to share this experience with everyone who wants to. It's an unforgettable experience, especially if you get to fly on one of these airplanes.
Yeah, so anyway, huge shout out to Field for taking us on a tour around this place and showing us an awesome piece of history.
Yeah, for sure, thanks.
We just took that tour of the B-17, which is super cool. And we're actually heading to the Corvette Museum right now to show that off and kind of see what all that's about, because neither of us have ever been there. And we've heard it's really cool. So we're gonna go check that out. Huge shout out to Field. Everything about the B-17 and everything will be linked down below for you guys to check it out. Anyway, let's get going. Here's the National Corvette Museum. This is a pretty awesome place so far. There's a bunch of C8 Corvettes everywhere. It's really cool. Okay, so we just finished up here at the Corvette Museum in Bowling Green. Really awesome place. All these places that we've been through so far, I keep saying, like, if you ever get a chance to come here, you should definitely come check it out. And at this point, it kind of just goes without saying, if you're in Bowling Green, Kentucky, you have to come see the Corvette Museum. Some of the coolest stuff you've ever seen, especially if you're buying a Corvette. They had everybody's Corvettes lined up that were like buying them. So really awesome place. Now we're heading to Nashville, which is kind of our next stop on the trip, and we'll kind of see where we go from there. Okay, so we had a pretty awesome and crazy day today with the Boxster. A lot of unexpected things. Seeing Field in the B-17 was really cool and unexpected. That was not planned. We were originally just going to the Corvette Museum, so we got to see some awesome stuff in an awesome car in Nashville and in Bowling Green, Kentucky. We're at the hotel in Nashville. I think this is going to end today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe down below for more stuff like this. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye. point it that way.